Welcome back to Wilde On, where we get spiritual on Saturdays. Today's guest is quickly becoming one of my favorite people. Not only is she a self-made success and millionaire, she is doing it completely authentically. She refuses to fit in the typical female motivational speaker stereotype. No power suits will be worn here. She is a wealth creator, an 8-figure coach, international best-selling author, and manifestation queen. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Kathleen Cameron. Thank you so much for taking the time out to do my podcast.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Sundays are good. It's a nice quiet day.
Sundays are good. It's God's day. This is what he'd want, right?
Absolutely, girl.
Don't worry, I'm not a Bible thumper. That's totally like me.
No, I'm like kind of in between.
Yeah.
No, not even. But I believe in many more things than I used to. Anyway, this topic of conversation. But not. I would say I'm not religious.
Yeah, spiritual.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think my whole life I didn't know what I believed in, and then spirituality is just that's the game changer. Like everyone should be spiritual, I think.
Oh, I agree, 100%. That my like what I teach is spirituality meets peak performance.
So let's elaborate on that. What does that mean?
So to me, spirituality meets peak performance is the majority of teachers, coaches, thought leaders. They teach you how to use your mind, your thinking, and then to move your body to create success. But there's this big piece, the spiritual piece that's missing. And so if you're only using your thoughts, your intellectual mind and your body, you're not going to accelerate yourself forward. So for me, I've been able to collapse time because I became very spiritual. So I understand that I'm creating not alone, but with assistance, from the universe, source, creator, God, whatever you want to say. Yeah. And so because I'm in the spirit first, everything that I do using my intellectual mind and my body is so much more productive. It just accelerates me forward so much more. And then it's just understanding that you're not alone in what you're doing. You're allowing for help to come and move you faster. So that's kind of my interpretation.
And I think that's probably one of the most powerful pieces on this spiritual journey I've taken is that time is not of the essence. Like we've been raised our whole lives, do. You've got to meet these benchmarks. If you're 40, you're too old to have a child. You got to start like letting go of time and realizing time isn't like real per se.
Oh, totally.
Was I think probably one of the most uplifting and took away such a part of anxiety in me that I've been trying to treat my whole life. Mm-hmm. And yeah, letting go of time has been really powerful for me.
For sure. And so what ends up happening with me is I teach people how to quantum leap in their life and how to collapse time. And so the first thing that they start to think about is then time. And it's like, okay, well, I want to do this really, really fast. So then the focus is on time and time running out. And I say, no, we're going to go the other way. So we're actually going to forget about time altogether. We're going to understand that time is simply just a function of the mind. It's not actually a physical thing. Yeah. And we're just going to allow ourselves to move forward in a beautiful way. And you will see afterwards, because you don't know you're leaping until it's done.
Right.
And so afterwards, you're like, wow, look what I just did in such a short amount of time with barely any effort. And so that's the best part of it. But there's a lot of letting go. Yeah, that is such a beautiful way of putting it.
Do less, attract more. That's, I think, one of my favorite quotes.
Yes.
But it's so hard to get your brain around in the beginning.
Well, because we've been taught that you need to work really hard. And the more you work, the more hours you work, the more effort you put in, the more money that you will make, the more success you will see in your business. Right. And so it is something that is ingrained in all of us. And so it's hard. It's a hard one to break. But once you do break it and you realize that you can actually be enjoying your life, have beautiful work-life balance, it changes everything. Even for me, I don't even, people say, are you working today? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. What do you mean? Am I working? I don't work. I just live my life doing what I love to do. And I'm so blessed that I get to do things like this that are fun and beautiful and exciting. And I get to share, my stories and my life. And it's not working at all. Yeah.
And that's the dream, isn't it? We spend our whole lives working. You should love it. It shouldn't feel like work. It should feel like, I don't know, you should be happy to get up every morning and do what you do.
Oh, totally. And somebody said to me one day, "Oh, are you on vacation?" And I was like, vacation. What is that? I'm like, I remember that. I remember when I used to as a nurse, I used to have to fill out a form and request my vacation. And I would vacate my life for 2 weeks, 2 weeks out of the year, 3 weeks out of the year, and go on a trip. And that was my time. Now I get to travel the world and do what I love everywhere. And so when people are like, is it business or vacation? I'm like, I don't know. It's life. Yeah, it's beautiful.
What more do you need, people? Like,
I know.
Get on this side.
Yeah, it's so good.
I think you and I have a lot of parallels. I know you were a nurse. I'm a firefighter. And so I feel like I've been dabbling in spirituality since I was about 12 years old. And I won't go through the whole ebb and flow of it, but I think it was pretty atypical. Like, in your teenage years, it's kind of like, it's not very cool and you're trying to like fit in. And then I went through 2 divorces, and that my partners weren't also, neither of them were in line with my beliefs. And then I was changing myself to like fit this sort of construct, lost myself. And just like a lot of us, I hit rock bottom as hard as humanly possible. And I've done conventional talk therapy, EMDR, for 10 years, and very valid, has a great place. I did do a lot of work, but it wasn't until a girlfriend that's been practicing medium, like energy light healer, she kind of came into my life and was like, just so you know, this is going to sound weird. She works with angels, but they won't shut the fuck up about you. I don't want to overstep, but you're out of alignment. You're not on your path. If you want to talk more about it, like I've known her for like 15 years. So it wasn't like totally left field.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is when I was at the height of my divorce, and or like knowing that my marriage was spiraling, and she kind of inadvertently like booped me on the head. I like to call it, like my fairy godmother booping me on the head, and opened my eyes and opened my heart and kind of recracked this part of myself that I had been hiding.
She helped you to awaken. Yeah,
exactly. Which is like this beautiful, amazing journey, but it is also so hard, when you start getting into your shadow self. But anyway, sorry, I digress. I think I've reached a point in my firefighting career that it did so much for me, seeing life and death, and helping people was a big thing I wanted to do. But now I'm at this point where I'm like, it's too much. I think it's taxing. I have a hard time dealing with the deaths now and not taking it home with me. Did you meet that in your career?
Oh, yes. Yeah. It was interesting because you go into a helping career. I always say that, the types of careers where you do some of the hardest work in this world is because you choose that because you have a desire within you to help other people. Yes. You're caring. You want to be the person to be able to support people. So, you certainly go into those careers with that caring heart, and something happens over time. And I'm not sure what it is, but the fire kind of dims. You get a little bit, I'm talking about that fire within. It kind of dims out. It goes a little bit quiet, and it starts to impact you. And so I think we all have a journey that we're on, that we're meant to experience those things, but then we're meant to leave them behind and go to the next thing. And so for me, in 2019, actually, about 6 months before COVID came was when I left nursing.
Oh, wow.
And so when I look back at the timing of that, I'm like, wow, that was really a divine time. And I'm so grateful for everybody that's still there and doing the work, but I'm also grateful that I had moved on.
Sure.
to something different. And so I got sick. I got stressed out. I had to go on sick leave. And I just had this thought, like, what would life be like if I was doing something else, still able to help, but do something else? And so I just made the decision. I had no other job to go to or anything else. And I just said, I'm gonna leave. And so I made the decision, and it was so hard. You feel like you're letting people down. You feel like you're letting the career down, the profession down.
Yes.
You're leaving the profession. What?
Yeah.
But I just transmuted that energy into helping in a completely different way. And I think that I think this is an even bigger way. I think the impact that I have now is far greater than I ever made as a registered nurse. And so it changed me to have done that. Every single thing we've done in our lives has led us to the thing that we're doing in this moment.
Right.
And so, and now I get to help other people find their purpose and their passion, and, answer their call to good, which is beautiful.
So I think one of the things I've read most about is when you choose your path, it's kind of always been there. And it's like this really big stress leading up to it. Oh my God, I'm going to leave my career. I don't know what's going to happen. But I hear it's actually when you step into your truth, your true alignment, it was like the easiest thing you actually ever did.
Of course.
Do you resonate with that?
Yes, of course, because it's natural. It's what you were destined to do. It's what you were meant to do. And so it should be easy, but leading up to it's not easy. And it's the leading up to making the decision that is the hardest part. It's like that internal conflict. And it's because you're operating on a certain frequency of vibration, and you're deciding to go to a different one, but you're comfortable on that one. And so you have beliefs, you have these feelings of what's normal for you. Right. So a lot of people will stay in the normal, even though they're really unhappy in the normal, but they'll stay there because it's the norm. And so when you feel that feeling of discomfort and you're like, oh, I'm not sure what I should do, and you're going back and forth, it's just, it's what happens. But then as soon as you go to that other frequency of vibration, you start operating there. Right. And you've made that decision, bam. It's like calmness. It's like, oh.
I think it's confusing for me because I'm trying to tap into my intuition. I'm trying to read these anxieties like, oh, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe the universe is, it's hard to read this whole situation of what is and what you create in your own head. How do you kind of bridge that gap between living, not creating the lack mentality and I don't know, like muting anxieties, for lack of a better term?
Yeah. The best definition that I ever heard about anxiety was that it's fear of the future. And so what is the best cure for fear of the future? Having an absolute faith and knowing in what your future holds. And so when you truly understand that you create your own reality, you decide what happens next, and that you are your own cause to every effect. So, one of the 7 natural laws is the law of cause and effect. Nothing but your own consciousness creates your outside world. So if you continue to have a fear of the future, then what kind of future are you creating? One with trepidation, one with indecision, things like that. So I truly 100% without a shadow of a doubt know that I create my own reality. And so what I tap into more often is my own desire. And so I just, the simplest question that I ask myself is, what would I love? And so would you love to continue to go to that job every day and experience the things that you're experiencing? You're going to have a thought come in your mind right away. You're going to know. And then it's like, okay, so the universe is full of millions of possibilities of what I can do next. So I know that that's not what I love. So what would I love to do next? And then your imagination is where creation happens. And your imagination actually allows you to experience everything that you could possibly want to do first, and know if you're in energetic alignment with it. So I always guide my clients on go into your imagination and put yourself in different situations. Maybe it's different careers, different jobs, whatever you want to do, and see how you feel there. And then that's how you know. And so then you're like, oh, would I love to do that? Yeah. Okay. That's my thing. Let's go.
So I have a personal question.
Yeah.
Did you have a vivid imagination your whole life?
No.
Oh, interesting.
No way. So no. So I never really, actually, I remember saying to myself, like, I'm not creative. I'm not somebody that's like artistic, or I'm not like a dreamer. I was so rooted in the world was what I saw with my five senses.
Okay.
So, being a nurse, like, evidence is like what we can prove. You got to see it and measure it. That's the truth. And so I really thought that I really didn't even know what I thought dreaming was, or what our imagination really was. But then I started to practice, and I started to tap into it. And I started to tap in emotionally to living in, I call it the fourth dimension. So when I'm in my imagination and I'm experiencing myself there, I'm on the fourth dimension, or I'm in the fourth dimension. Abraham Hicks talks about it as the vortex.
Yes.
But for me, fourth dimension makes complete sense. So I'm moving things from the fourth dimension down into the third dimension. Right. And so I'm always thinking and living fourth dimensionally. And that allows me to create whatever I want in my third dimensional world. And so now I'm there a lot. Especially before I go to bed at night. It's like, oh yes, where am I going to go today? Like, so having fun.
I love that. But I think that's really important for our listeners, because, a lot of them probably come from your side, where it's like, well, I'm not creative. I don't daydream. Yeah. I'm very fact-based. I have a job in medicine or science, and it's fact, point, fact, point. So it's really, whereas I think I've always struggled in my fields, because I am very much half artist, half type A, and I live in this world that I fit in no box.
Yes.
I think I've always had a vivid imagination, and I had nowhere to channel it. And I think sometimes I've wasted, prior to this journey, probably imagining things that weren't of my greatest and highest self. And I think I haven't gotten to the places where I wanted to be or should be, because I didn't realize my power. And now that I'm channeling these things, it's, oh my goodness, living in the fourth dimension, or the 5D world, or however you want, it's the best.
Yes. Yeah. And so many people are very, very good at using their imagination to just recreate the same thing over and over again, the same day, the same experience, the same trauma, unfortunately, too. So we tap in and we take a memory, which only exists in the mind. We take that memory and we move it forward into today over and over again. And so you're recreating it. So for me, it's like, okay, well, let's not go to that memory, but let's create the way we want that memory to be. Neville Goddard is one of my absolute all-time favorite authors, and he calls it revise the day.
Yep.
So go back and revise what happened today. Don't think about all the things that went wrong that you didn't like, but think about how you'd like them to go next time. And then it'll work out better that way. So, yeah.
And I think that's where I got stuck in the wasteful part, is the anxious side of me would focus on the moments of my day. And then you get into that lack mentality, you get into that negative mentality, and it's, you really are creating your own reality, your own destiny. And it seems so simple.
Yeah, you really are. And I think, one of the best things that I ever did is embodying the material that, Bob Proctor taught me, was just to really, really embody it and become it. And so that means that not just in the words that I express to my clients and the way that I teach, but to actually live it in myself every day. So it's disciplining my thinking and making sure that every thought, every feeling, every word that comes out of my mouth, every action that I take is coming from the most divine version of myself. I don't like to say highest version, because I feel like that makes any other version less than. So I don't want to say that any past version of me was wrong in any way.
Right.
We have gone through this unfolding, this awakening to get back to our most divine self. So that's the terminology that I use.
Okay.
But so I want to make sure that the way that I am today in this 3D world is in alignment with my future or most divine self. And there's a lot of discipline in that. And it's not working hard. Yeah. It's just making sure I'm in vibrational alignment.
Well, you just really taught me something, how to correct a lack mentality or a blockage I might be creating. I take a lot of my readings from probably more like witchcraft, spirituality, because it's what I identify with, but it's always your highest self, your highest being. But by doing that, I'm minimizing my past experiences, and I'm creating a lack. I like the divine. That's
One of the things that I truly believe is a very, very important component of all of this work, and whether it's spiritual work, manifestation work, or even peak performance, people that are doing work in their everyday life to excel at whatever it is that they do. The concept that we hold of ourselves is key. And so we manifest who we believe that we are in this moment. And so if you feel less than, what is that concept that you're expressing outward? It's an identity of not being good enough, not being perfect enough, not being your highest self. So I just noticed whenever I was saying my highest self, I was always making myself feel a little less. So I just said, no, you know what? It's not about being higher or better. It's about being most divine. And what I mean by divine, people ask me this all the time, what does that mean? Do you mean like religion? And I'm like, no. When we were born, when we were babies and when we were toddlers, we did not learn that we were not worthy. We did not learn to compare ourselves to other people. Right. We didn't think that we were less than others. We didn't look to our friends and go, oh, they're better than me, so I'm less than, or what. We didn't worry about what other people thought of us. This is all stuff that we have taught ourselves to think about and to be. And so our most divine version is that version of ourselves that sees us as the wholeness that we are and truly believes we're capable of all things. And we just go out and have fun and do it.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's really strong. I really love
So
that.
I feel like I'm just every day unfolding and awakening to go back to kind of where I was when I was there, which is my most divine.
And we're our most happiest, our most pure, our most uninfluenced. Why wouldn't we want to live in that?
Right. Yeah. I just think about like when I had my babies and they were learning to walk, and, there was so much joy and funness in it. And even us as adults watching them do it.
Yeah.
We were so excited and cheering them on. And it was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so my son, he'll be 4 in April, but having him and watching him grow into a little person and amazing. Like healing yourself, like self-parenting yourself has been such an integral part of my journey. Like kids are the best. They just short of kill you, but they're the best.
You will change who you are when you have kids. Absolutely. That was one of the most transformative times of my life. And then again, this past 2 years, again, the second time. Now my girls are 7 and 9. Oh, so they're a lot more independent now. And it's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of the things that shaped me. I'm seeing it happen with them now. And I'm watching it. I'm like, interesting. Things with friends and very peer relationships and peer pressure, all that stuff.
And he's really young, but I see the same little bits already where I'm like, oh, he's highly sensitive. He's really takes things personally. And I see the parts of myself that I wish my parents could have seen in me. And it's not that they did a bad job. They did a wonderful job. But totally. I think being so in tune with myself and seeing these parts that could be nurtured, it's a really enlightening experience.
They are a reflection of us, right? I mean, they're learning what we have going on. And so sometimes I look to my daughters and I'm like, oh, could that be from me? Yeah. Okay, I got to examine that, right? But the good news is, and I'm so grateful to have learned this, I started studying when I was 30, I think I was about 37. Yeah. When I started studying law of attraction, power of the mind and things like that. And at that time, I thought that I was who I was. Yeah. It was like Kathleen Cameron is XYZ. Right. I am this. I have this personality. Okay. So it was kind of like working with what you got type of attitude. And when I started studying and I really dug deep into, most teachers of this will call it self-image. I like to talk about identity or concept. Okay. To me, it's just all encompassing and it makes more sense. So my identity, I realized, was not determined, that I could shift it at any moment, that I could actually change the woman that I see myself as. So it's not actually changing who I am, but changing how I see me. So, the thing about being sensitive, I was told my entire life I was sensitive, and I believe that I was sensitive. I got my feelings hurt easily. I took things personal. Oh my gosh, my whole entire life. But then I got into manifestation.
Mhm.
And one day I was reading a book on feeling and how important it is for you to feel. And I was like, well, I don't have a problem with that. I can feel things. Like, yeah, I feel them probably more than most.
Yeah.
And so I switched it and I went, wait a minute. This thing that I have seen as a liability my whole life, what if it's a superpower? What if being sensitive and tapping into emotion and feeling things actually makes me more powerful than people that don't feel as much?
Absolutely.
And so I just switched that narrative. And so now I truly believe that one of the reasons why I've been able to accelerate myself in this way and change my physical world so quickly is because of the amount of feeling that I can place on things. I just use it for good. I use it for good. I don't use it for evil. So like, I will not, I know how much negative emotion, how much I can feel negative emotion.
Yeah.
So I'm super, super aware of, do I want to continue to transmute this negative energy or do I want to let it go? And so I let a lot of stuff go these days.
I like that. That's something I need to remind myself of too. Usually the shit that comes down your way is actually about somebody else and it's not about you.
It's never about you. It's a reflection of the judgment within themselves. Yeah. So whenever you're feeling judged, I always ask myself two things. Okay, Kathleen, why are you judging yourself today? Because when somebody judges you from the outside, it's a reflection of self-judgment from the inside. So I always say, Kathleen, why are you judging yourself today? Okay, let's stop that. But then I say, okay, and then this person is judging me, which really means they're judging themselves.
Right.
So I can give them compassion, offer them support. How can I help you? Like genuinely, how can I help you to love yourself a little bit more or to, be more confident in the beautiful being that you are.
And that's a perfect a little segue for doing a product plug of
your
good gratitude. Yes. So this journal, the Gratitude for Manifestation, I think one of the biggest learning curves for me was not actually like the goal setting or the I am, was actually the I love sending love to people. Because who I ended up sending love to was the people that I probably have the biggest struggles with. And it's been a real switch for me.
Yes. And so that section of the journal, it was so interesting because I wrote it with one of my clients, Andrea. She came to me and she said, Kathleen, I want to do a gratitude journal. Would you do it with me? And I said, absolutely. I would love to. And so the section of send love, we both said, yeah, we got to do a section of send love. Her idea of send love was to sit down and send somebody love that you love in your life or somebody that needs support. Or, if you have a friend that's maybe dealing with some illness, send them healing vibes and things like that. And I was like, Andrea, I love that. Not at all what I was thinking. So
interesting.
I said, for me, it's sending love to people that piss me off.
Yes.
It's sending love to those that have judged me, that have irked me. It's sending love sometimes to myself too. I forgive myself.
That's another part.
Yeah. I forgive myself for being so hard on me, for judging myself so badly and for all of the things. So I've used that send love. Well, if you've done Reiki healing and you've done past life healings and all that kind of stuff, how important forgiveness is.
Yes.
And so that send love section can be a really great place too, for you to send forgiveness. And you don't have to forgive them to their face. The ego won't always allow.
No.
But you can absolutely release that forgiveness from your energetic state because we don't want to be holding on to that.
No, not at all. And actually the send love to the narcissists in my life was probably one of the most healing things because like you said, the ego, but really you're never going to get what you want from those types of people in terms of closure and types, in healing. So man, like girl, like we know you are successful. You are, changing the game, but just that component alone has been huge for me. So thank you for creating this journal.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And it was a gift to me, and it's probably been my number one gift that I give to other people. And
I love that. So good. So, yeah, I had clients that really wanted something. And so we created it, and it's now just become this beautiful journal that people just reorder.
I love it. I really do. Now, I'm not going to keep you forever because I feel like I have 1,000,001 questions and you have been incredible. But the one thing I'd like to ask you is, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about what you do?
Oh my gosh.
It's probably a loaded question.
There is so many misconceptions. It's really, really interesting. A lot of people believe that what I do is some sort of a hoax or a scam, or it's woo woo. I hear the word woo woo a lot. And so that's why I like when I talk about, for me, the spirituality meets peak performance. It's a combination of masculine and feminine energy. It's a combination of, living in, some of the woo woo, which I love,
Same.
but it's also rooted in a lot of knowledge and intellect. And so I study some of the great authors, and I transcend information. And so this information, what I teach, has been around for hundreds of years. It is not new. We are modernizing it. The world is shifting right now. We need a lot more of the feminine energy. We've been in the masculine energy. I don't mean men versus women. I'm talking about, energetically,
Yeah. I'm exhausted. I don't want to be masculine no more.
No. And so the world is really tapping into the feminine energy. The womb of creation is the subconscious mind. And so if we can allow people to connect spiritually, to know that they are, I always say, I am a spiritual being in a physical body with an intellectual mind. And so when you can operate on all three of those planes, is where you truly, truly are able to move yourself forward. And so it is rooted in a lot of intellect, but a lot of spirituality, a lot of human connection, but it is all done in the name of moving the greater collectiveness, the greater collective consciousness forward. Right. And so, yes, people sign up to work with me to study themselves and go on a personal journey, but there's a far greater reason. It's interesting. I'm chatting with you today. I don't know if you probably saw in my stories, but my mentor and good friend, Bob, who taught me all of this, passed away this past few days ago.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know. I'm so sorry.
No. Oh my gosh. I'm in so much gratitude for him and having had him in my life in the past 2 years. And, I was part of the very tail end of his human journey. His spirit has just gone to another place, and now he's in true spirit form, which is so beautiful. And it just, you can feel that everywhere. And so for me, my journey is to continue to pass on this information that he brought into my life, and to continue to help people to truly live a life of fulfillment and meaning and joy and happiness. A lot of people think that they want success, they want money, they want experiences, but what we're all truly looking for is that fulfillment and that deeper sense of meaning and purpose. So I'm just here to help people tap into that, and truly be their best version, whatever that means for them.
Yes, I'm with you. Actually, that's where it all changed for me. Is I just want to be happy.
Yes.
I want to have fun. I want adventure. I want to feel free and love.
I have a good book recommendation for you then.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, you got to read Happier Than God. Now, I know
God.
You're not incredibly religious, but you'll love it.
Okay.
Happier Than God, Neale Walsch.
Okay, I'm on it. It's in the Amazon checkout bin already.
It's brilliant.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much. This was such a beautiful experience for me.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.